and welcome to Nova Southeastern University's Innovations Podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Sandra Miller. She's a doctor of physical therapy and co-owner of Integrated Fitness, along with her husband. Sandra began her fitness career in 2005 at Florida State University as a personal trainer, certified by the National Strength and Conditioning Association. After being a personal trainer for 5 years, she decided to further her education by taking the DPT program at Nova Southeastern University, where she received her DPT in 2014. She's a Graston certified specialist and a certified manual neuromusculoskeletal specialist. She has a passion for helping those with limitations to achieve their fitness goal and has made it her goal to perfect the integration of physical therapy with fitness. She's a mother of 2 young sons and has successfully ran 2 triathlons. And she is originally from Peru and loves to cook. And her website is theintegratedfitnesssolution.com. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Russell. Thank you for having me and inviting me for this really cool opportunity.
Yeah, I'm super excited to talk to you because I'm always interested in that sort of intersection between what people know they should do and actually doing it, right? And a big part of fitness is sort of helping people to actually implement the changes they want to implement. And that's a big part of our job, right?
Yes.
So help me understand your journey from personal trainer to DPT, and how has this influenced your approach to fitness and rehabilitation?
So my journey from personal training to become a DPT was pretty basic. I went to Florida State and I declared a major in exercise science, but I wasn't 100% sure where I wanted to take it. I always had physical therapy in the back of my mind, but I had never been inspired by a physical therapist. And after becoming a personal trainer, I then realized that I had so many clients with limitations. The majority of my clients were 50 plus, and they had aches and pains and injuries. And all of the other personal trainers would then ignore the injury and work around it. Like they would say, oh, just work around the injury. But I refused to accept that. And so that's when I really started believing, okay, I need to know for sure, am I hurting them or am I helping them? And
so I'm sorry. So what you're saying is that you were working as a personal trainer and you were finding that your scope was more limited than your desire to help your patients. So you decided to sort of increase your scope by going to PT school.
Yes. And I just really wanted to help people throughout their journey, because in personal training, people will stay with you for years or if not decades. And I wanted to make sure that I was going to be the best, that they were looking for, and that I was truly making an educated and sound decision when I was designing their programs.
So help me understand a little bit about Integrated Fitness, your business. I understand that it's a physical therapy practice, but you also incorporate sort of that fitness component. So help me understand maybe the typical journey of a patient that comes to you. How do you integrate this fitness and physical therapy practice?
Okay. Well, typically, if somebody calls to inquire, we are listed on Google. So we're known as fitness. For people that typically have aches and pains, chronic aches and pains, we do market that. So when people come in, they meet with one of our senior fitness consultants or managers to do what's called a consultation. We speak with them about their goals and what they're looking for. On the phone, we do make sure that they understand that there is a physical therapy component. So when there is some pain involved in the client's profile, then we definitely make sure to let them know that this is part of our whole program. Basically, the physical therapy evaluation happens after the client signs up for the program. So say, for example, I saw that you have your weight loss journey that you did on your own, which is amazing. Congratulations.
That's very kind.
So somebody like you, the old you, would come in and I would say, or one of our managers would say, Russell, you want to lose 200 pounds. This isn't going to happen in 10 sessions. This isn't going to happen. We're talking about a year or 2-year commitment with somebody at that level, pre-diabetic, hundreds of pounds overweight. So we basically talk to you about the longevity of your program, and this is what it's going to entail. In the beginning, we're going to have an evaluation with physical therapy, and then we're going to have the physical therapy, write what's called the physical therapy prescription that is given to the personal trainers. So the development of the physical therapy prescription is done after the evaluation. It gives the do's and don'ts of the program to the trainers. Then the trainers take that and they do their own program design, because I believe in the autonomy of their profession as well. So they write their program, they put it in my checkoff box. I check it off to make sure that we are integrating some therapeutic exercises to help strengthen the injuries. And then we also have whatever components are necessary to meet the client's goals. Whether it's weight loss, we add a little bit of cardio, high reps, those kinds of things. Or if we need just a pure strengthening program, we do that as well. But we always integrate therapeutic exercise in, whether it's in the warm up, during an active rest, what have you. And then we also have where the clients say you buy 40 sessions. Any one of those sessions can be used with physical therapy as well. So you can be seen 3 times a week here, and then once a week with physical therapy, where we focus on more of the manual therapy, perfecting therapeutic exercises, talking to the clients about their program, how it's going, managing their pain, and just staying at the forefront, because before it becomes a big boundary for them to meet their fitness goals.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that step one is they meet with a manager, a fitness sort of consultant, to see if maybe this innovative program is a good fit for the client. That's the impression I'm getting, right? Because this is maybe not for everybody. So you're sort of starting the process of setting expectations. And then after they commit to the program, then they meet with the physical therapist, who will sort of do a review of systems and say, okay, these are some of the things we need to watch out for. And then you communicate with the personal trainer and help them sort of guide their treatment plan. And the two professionals kind of come together with a common treatment plan. And in that treatment plan, so I'm hearing that you're selling like blocks of sessions, and that those blocks of sessions could be divided between personal trainer and physical therapist. I don't want to say indiscriminately, but sort of at will. Your patient can slide from personal trainer to physical therapist. Is there any limit on the amount of physical therapy a patient can get in their, let's say, 40 session package?
No, there isn't. But typically we do like to stay within the direct access law. Like if I have somebody with an acute problem that's coming in, typically at that 30-day mark, we go into like personal training with a physical therapy adjunct, and I don't see them as often after the first month. Now, if they were to come up with a new injury, then I can reestablish that 30-day for a different injury and then see them more often. If I do see that I need to see them past that 30-day mark, I always tell them, if we're going to go past 30 days, if this injury lingers, then I'm going to need you to see the physician and get a physical therapy prescription, and then we go from there.
So in setting up this model, which is kind of new and innovative, what are some of the most significant challenges that you faced in sort of building this practice?
So some of the challenges that we have had is, for me personally, as the physical therapist and owner, is inventing this wheel of communication with personal training. The way our studio is run is different than any gym I've ever worked at. It's different than any clinic I've ever worked at, because my notes are not necessarily going to some insurance person. My notes are more geared towards fitness focus, and I'm communicating directly with my personal trainer. So inventing that communication process. So inventing the PT therapy or the physical therapy prescription, inventing we have a daily communication email that goes out that basically adjusts programs if needed. We have a weekly physical therapy meeting amongst the entire staff that's run by myself to go through any problems that have happened that week. We also go through innovative exercises. We talk about different things that we can implement in programs. So that was a little bit of a challenge in the beginning, but now that the wheel's been turning for about 2 years, it's
Okay.
become a little easier. And then my new challenge came when I filled up. And so I needed help and finding a physical therapist that is okay with the model, a new model of treatment, and having somebody who's actually into physical therapy that's fitness focused seems to be a lot more challenging than it sounds.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes. And then also setting standards for personal trainers. Our personal trainers are all bachelors of exercise science or kinesiology. In order to apply, they have to have an exercise related bachelor's degree,
Okay.
have to be nationally certified. They go through about 2 weeks of onboarding with us. They do a module with me of common injuries. So we have a lot of education. So, just basically setting up all of those principles and systems was a bit of a challenge in the beginning, but now it's the biggest challenge at this point is replicating
Yeah. Well,
what we,
that's always a challenge. Scaling, right?
of course.
Is so I am getting the impression that you are entirely a cash-based business, non-insurance based reimbursement. Am I correct in that assumption?
Yes, I do work with a system that does give me a super bill or an invoice for those
Okay.
clients that want to do a 30-day treatment plan and they want to reimburse it with their insurance. I do provide CPT and ICD-10 codes to them with an
Okay.
invoice. That way they can submit it themselves, but I am considered an out-of-network provider.
Okay. So basically a cash-based practice, which is, I think a lot of professionals are looking at cash-based practice and they start maybe going down that road and they find it immensely difficult, right? One of the things that I like to talk to people about is how they structure their business and knowing the business you're in, right? So if you're a physical therapist and you're going to start a cash-based practice, you have to realize that you're basically in the marketing business, right? Because you have to go out and you have to just keep getting those clients and pulling them in. And then, of course, they leave either because they decide they don't want to be a cash-based client or they get better, right? Because that's part of what we do. And what I'm hearing is innovative about your model is, and you said it right up top, part of fitness is a long-term commitment.
Correct.
So you're building into your model this this lower churn rate. Now, churn rate, for those of you who don't know what that is every time you get a client in, you have to imagine the day when they leave and how are you going to replace that client, right? And the rate at which those clients cycle in and out determines how much effort you need to put into marketing, right? This is stuff you already know. Obviously, you've made it 2 years. You know this stuff. And what I'm liking about your model is that you've lowered the churn rate by sort of having this fitness component, this longer term component, and again, this is not just a business decision. You're also making a longer term commitment to your patients, to your clients, which is, kind of win-win. They stay in your business family, but they're also continuing to get the value from your service over a longer period of time. So you're lowering churn and increasing value, which is essentially the hallmark of any successful business model, right? So anyone who's looking at a model like this and might want to talk to you about how they can replicate it, these are some of the selling features that you would have about your model. Does it sound like I kind of hit the head on the head on the nail? The nail on the head? I mean,
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly, I can't take credit away from my husband. My husband has a background in business and finance, and he's very much an entrepreneur, where I'm more of the brains. And so he's like the business and I'm the talent kind of thing. And then we
okay.
ourselves, we actually met as personal trainers. We were both working at Bally Total Fitness. So we have that in common. And we basically have merged our business
Talents.
together and our talents
Yeah.
and our degrees together. And because in the very early years when I went to PT school, I left the fitness industry for 3 years, and he was working on his own. And before I had gone back to physical therapy school, I was working with him in a small studio where it was just personal training, your regular, shop for personal training.
Okay.
Uh, so then when I left, then he was on his own, and I kind of lost my train of thought. Where was I going with this?
You were talking about how your husband and you combined your
Yeah.
talents, and that
We
his talents are primarily sort of business and your talents are primary clinical, I think is what I
Right.
was hearing you
Oh,
say.
that's it. Okay, so now I got it back. Okay, so basically, while I was in PT school, he was seeing clients that had those injuries, and so now he was asking me for advice, asking
Right.
maybe you can come in and treat my client a little bit here and there. And so every once in a while, we'd either pull out a table in the studio, just a regular foldable table, and then I would do little treatments on his clients and then help him with his program design, and that's really where it started.
And again, I can't stress enough how much I can appreciate the concierge fitness model and the cash-based physical therapy model, how well they go together from the perspective of adding value, and then the fitness being sort of a marketing method for the
Mhm.
physical therapy practice. And I think that's important for a lot of people who are looking at cash-based practices to understand, because over and over and over again, I hear of physical therapists who want to go into the cash-based business. They're given the impression it's a lot easier than it is. It's not. And for reasons that we can expand upon in a different podcast, but I like the way you've solved some problems. I also like the way that it appears to me like you're giving rewarding career opportunities to both personal trainers and physical therapists. So you're raising the bar for the entry of a personal trainer to work with you, so that incentivizes people to elevate themselves professionally. But you also giving opportunities to physical therapists to maybe not work in the endless clinic grind, right? Does that sound accurate? Can you expand on that?
Yes, yes, it does sound accurate. And just to kind of expand, as a personal trainer back in the day, I didn't really see myself ever really getting out of the trenches per se. I was like, okay,
Mhm.
I'm a personal trainer. I'm going to be a personal trainer even when I'm 60, 70 years old, handing people weights. I never saw an out. And in physical therapy, the same kind of thing, or you just become the director of physical therapy, and that really isn't doing what your passion is. So because of that, we developed this career ladder as well, where we have a very structured career path. People start as a personal trainer, people start as a fitness consultant, and then as they get more certifications or specialties, they go up in the tiers and they become a FC2, then they become a senior fitness consultant, then they become a team leader, and eventually they manage the whole place. And then the end game is to just have multiple locations and have multiple people running different
Right. So
facilities.
you're training future business owners,
Correct. Yeah.
basically,
Or we're having
and
entrepreneurs.
intrapreneurs. Is that what you said?
Entrepreneurs. That's what
I
we
like
call.
it.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Listen, the key to corporate culture is forming an internal language. So you're on your way. It's all good
Yeah.
stuff for the wiki. Uh, so could you share a couple of or one memorable success story of a client who you really felt that you just made a difference in their lives?
Oh, yeah. So we have a client that's been here for about a year and a half now. So I'll share her story. She started
Okay,
out about a year and a half ago. Her daughter-in-law is a friend of mine from, friend of a friend. So she reached out
okay,
to me. She says, "Hey, my mother-in-law has really bad neck pain, and she has a history of low back um, surgery." And so she says, "I saw you guys on the internet and we're in your area. So just wanting to see if maybe you could talk to my mother-in-law." I said, "Okay." So I called the mother-in-law and I presented our business to her and I told her what we were about. She asked me more questions than anyone has ever asked me in my entire career. She asked me all
Okay.
about my training, my certifications. I mean, a little bit more, she would have asked me my license number. She wanted to know all of my certifications, all my specialties, how long I've been practicing. I mean, she was really drilling me. But I guess I passed with flying colors, and she scheduled an appointment with me, and I started seeing her. So she was on because she had a very hard time rotating her neck, and she was having severe pain. She started out with physical therapy for the 30 days with me. So the first 30 days she was with me. After her first session with me, I worked very softly with her. She was sore. So the next day at 6:30 in the morning, I get a text message that's this long, saying that she's heading to the emergency room. She's
Oh
so
my.
sore. She doesn't know what to do. She can barely sleep, and it was just in tremendous pain. And so she was set to come in the following day. She can't take NSAIDs or anything like that. So I called her at about 6:35 in the morning, and I said to her, you know, you need to calm down. It's okay. Let's try a little heat, just do a little movement. And I educated her on how herniated discs can hurt more in the morning. She's got to get moving. Don't go to the emergency room. You know, if you absolutely feel you need to, perhaps visit an urgent care and they can put you on something that can help get your pain down. But, you know, just stick with me. You're just sore from the treatment. Fast forward a year and a half later, she avoided neck surgery, no longer has neck pain, does quilting and stitching as a hobby. So she's looking down a lot.
Which she couldn't do before,
She
obviously, right?
couldn't do that
Yeah.
before. It would bother her just to sit for any longer than 10 minutes. So then she's also gone through a knee replacement now because her knee gave out because
Oh wow.
she was
Okay.
starting to walk and run a little bit, you know, throughout her journey, but her knee we knew was arthritic. So we did a little prehab before, and she
Okay.
actually
Always
went in.
important.
Right. So she went in, and she's about 12 weeks post-op now, full range of motion. She just started working out with the personal trainers again, and she never has really left our whole program. She's been in and out with the surgery,
Hmm.
but through the entire program, oh, she's also lost 30 pounds, and she's in a smaller size than she was when she got married. She can't believe she's, you know, well
Wow.
under 200 pounds at this
That
point.
is a success story.
Yeah, so she, you know, avoiding neck surgery, going into a total knee, and you know, she does, of course, every total knee has some pain, but at this point at 12 weeks, she's doing everything. She's driving, her social life has also gone up. She's a single woman, so now she's, you know, frequenting her temple, and she's going out with her friends, where when I first met her, she wasn't doing any of that.
Wow. That so yeah, I mean, so you've made a huge impact in her quality of life.
Yes,
And I
she
think
wants to write reviews all the time and shout from the rooftops. It's so cute.
so, I mean, a couple of things I really appreciate about that story. First of all, I mean, I've owned two separate orthopedic practices and I've been practicing a very long time. And who among us who hasn't been in our own practice hasn't gotten that panicked phone call from that acute patient who invariably has an increase in symptoms after they've been treated? And that's always tough to manage, right? Just to get them to lower their emotional level and come back in, and then just allow you to continue to your work. So that I can appreciate that aspect of the story. The other thing I want to say that I really appreciated is that as physical therapists, we aspire to be able to do more prehab. We get excited when we can intervene at an early moment in someone's care and pre-rehabilitate them for surgery so that when they come out they have a shorter time that they lose function. And I think
Mm.
your model lends itself well to being in the right place at the right time for prehab, which is just another selling feature for a physical therapist who's just like had it with the grind. It's like, hey, you could do all this cool stuff and you're going to make a real difference in people post surgery because you're going to get a chance to work with them pre-surgery. And I think that's important to point out. For those of us who have been doing this a long time, we get excited when we get to work with people at that level.
Yes.
So we are coming close to the end of our time. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to maybe, is there anything else that you would like to say in summary or closing that you feel would be of value and benefit to our listeners?
You had written something about the core values of physical
Yeah.
therapy and how we integrate that every day here. And I had to do a little research on the core values again, and it's so funny because they are extremely parallel to our business's core values, which
So
was
let's talk about that. Yeah.
okay. So, accountability is a huge one with us. It's something that we find that we hold ourselves accountable. If I say that I'm going to do something, I have a team of 7 fitness professionals who hold me accountable, and vice versa. If I tell a personal trainer, hey, let's take squats out for a week, Sally's a little sore. I walk in and Sally's doing squats. They know I'm going to hold them accountable, and it's nothing against their character. We just keep it professional, and our biggest thing is our clients' health and well-being.
Yeah.
That kind of accountability is really nice as a team, because not only are we a team, but we're like a family. So we can say those things to each other, and we understand it's completely professional. The collaboration aspect of it, of course,
Collaboration. You mentioned
commu-
professionalism already. That's one of our core values.
professionalism. Yes, communication between the personal trainer and the physical therapist. The personal trainer is also held accountable for collaborating with physical therapy in the aspect of trying to progress the client very strategically. And if there's any incidents along the way, they must report it to the entire team. And so that way everybody knows, okay, this client had a flare with this exercise. What are we going to do to be able to get there? And so we collaborate as a team to try to solve that problem.
Yeah.
Autonomy. I mean, I've never had more autonomy in my life.
That's
It's
great. That's great.
it's really cool. I have a couple clients of ours that have been with us for over a decade, since the very beginning when Nick and I were personal trainers together. There's about 4 or 5 of them that have followed us for 16
Uh-huh.
years. We first were
Wow.
and so they come to me for advice on where to go, who to speak to, referrals, some differential diagnoses. I mean, I've caught uh, several different things that people have had, anything from kidney stones to actually needing surgery. I've had to break it to,
Wow.
physical therapists, you often have to break that news to somebody, but preparing them with it and telling them, look, this isn't the end of you. We're still going to work. This is going to be what the plan is going to turn into. Um, Excellence, because I believe I have the best fitness studio in the entire world, because we really hold our standards high. When we hire, we take our time, and we really truly feel that if the personnel isn't right, then the entire studio won't be right.
And
So
the
we really
education component that you mentioned as well speaks to that
correct.
excellence. And we also we could talk about the compassion and empathy piece where you're and what I like about your business model is it seems like you're exercising compassion both for your patients but also in your staff development. Just this
Yeah.
whole idea that you're creating opportunities for the people that are working for you, but you're also creating, huge boosts in quality of life for your patients. And I also like, you mentioned that you're catching things, right? You put those same people in a traditional fitness model, which is where they would have been had they not gone to you, and they may have sustained harm, as often happens in fitness settings. So, that's another way to exercise compassion, is that you're keeping people out of harm's way.
Yes. Yeah,
So
so
that
we really tried to tie it all in. It's been quite the road, but we really feel like at this point we have solidified our business model, and now we just have to grow.
Yeah, well, I wish you luck. And one final thing in closing, what advice would you give to aspiring uh, students entering the field of either physical therapy or personal training? What would be your best advice?
I think it's never letting go of your passion and always focusing on your goals, and don't give up on trying to be your best self. You know, for me at this point, I feel like I've built my dream job, and I really always wanted that. Um and just you just keep grinding until you find it, and then once you find it, it's I like to live by the theme of saying that if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And there are many days in my weeks that I absolutely love what I do, and I don't feel like I'm working. I'm having fun.